This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. It happens to be a Tuesday afternoon, so that means it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John DiNallo. And we're going to laugh for the next hour. That's what I predict.
Yes, that is a guarantee. Thank you, Karen Hale, for that lovely introduction. I am your host, Paul Seaburn. Hey, it's great to be here on a Tuesday afternoon at What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. What's our motto? Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. And hopefully we live up to that. We at least have a good time trying. On the show is our co-host and media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, Karen Hale. Also on the screen somewhere is John DiNallo, our co-host, sports guy, and trivia buff. Hey, John, how are you?
Oh, hi, Paul. Hi, Karen. It's another
Hey.
Tuesday. It's another show. So let's get going.
That's right. Beautiful day, and we're in Northeast Ohio. I believe last time I looked at the thermometer, it was 50 degrees on February 7th. So go figure.
Yeah, we will.
We're not going to talk about the weather. We're not going to talk about balloons. We're not going to talk about any of that weird stuff. We're going to talk about strange news that you don't hear anyplace else. And if you do, too bad you heard it here first. So, and we've got some great stuff. But before I begin, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're on YouTube watching us live, that's great. We're on at 3:30 p.m. on Tuesdays. Thank you so much for joining in during the middle of your busy day. If you're listening to us in the future or watching us in the future on YouTube, thank you for doing that as well. All of you who send us little notes of advice, let's say, like our good friend Dan, who likes to send us advice on our performances. Also, Mark down in Austin. We appreciate it. We have a good time reading all of it. And we would never make fun of you on the air. So don't worry about that. So please send us any kind of information or comments that you like. I'm on Facebook. Look me up. I occasionally test some of the stories and the jokes here. Also, you might find some of these stories on Mysterious Universe, where I am the editor and head writer. More of the paranormal stuff, the UFOs, the aliens, those kinds of stories. I had a couple of good UFO stories this week. So check those out. But here, funny stuff. That's what we want. And we got some great stuff. No Bigfoot stories for you today, John. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll have to somehow just muddle through it, Paul. I'm sure we'll have some Bigfoot next
week. I have one next week. As I was getting ready to come online, I got a notice that someone found a trail of Bigfoot footprints in the snow somewhere up north, wherever there's snow. I think they may have been in Canada. So I'm going to check that out. We'll have that story next week. This week we've got alligator hybrids in Alabama. Somebody's trying to cross alligators with catfish. I don't know if this is a good idea. Strange clothing. The story we did last week about the wearable beanbag, very popular clothing item. So I've got another weird clothing story this week from France. So we're looking forward to that. With photos, of course. Be on the lookout for ogres if you live in Massachusetts. We'll talk about that story. Always like the food stories. This week I've got submarine sandwich history. We talk about a submarine sandwich record. We like to talk about world records and also some history of the submarine sandwich. So by the time we're done, you'll be hungry. World's oldest tavern. And you'll be thirsty as well. We'll talk about the world's oldest tavern that they found, 5,000 years old, pretty old. Some really smart kids. We don't need to explain anything to the kids because they're all smarter than us. But these kids are super smart, and you'll love those stories. Much more odd news, some trivia, world records. I got a couple more world records. Strange sports. John has got another strange sport for us this week. So we'll be looking forward to hearing that. And then, of course, we always end with Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. So let's get right to it. Let's check our time here and move right into. Okay, so So I mentioned that John's last name is DiNallo. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what his nationality is. But this one's for you, John. You may know this guy. This is this comes from Italy. The anti-mafia police down in Italy arrested a mob boss, Edgardo Greco. Do you know him?
I have to honestly say that I don't know who that gentleman is.
So Edgardo was apparently one of the top mafia guys in Italy, and then he disappeared. And they haven't been able to find him for a number of years, well over 10, I believe. They just discovered him on his job. What was Edgardo Greco doing? He was working at a pizza parlor as a pizza chef at the Cafe Rossini Italian restaurant. And apparently he'd been working there for a while, because they even worked him into the one of their commercials. So it's almost like he forgot he was a mob boss, and he was. They had pictures of him in the commercial. As they're dragging him out, they're doing the perp walk. He's got his hands behind his back. This is how into pizza making he was. He told anybody there that if any of you testify against me, you'll be sleeping with the anchovies. So, yeah, so you better believe he was a big time guy, John. He was. I'm surprised you didn't know him. Edgardo. I don't know what they call him now. Maybe Eddie Spaghetti.
Well, mafia characters or mafia figures are notorious for having nicknames.
You bet. Yeah.
I mean, for various reasons, but
yeah.
I'll tell you, you would think that he's going to be under the radar, so to speak. And the long
time. It was amazing. It worked for a good looking guy too. Not your typical the Godfather from the movie. So anyways, now I mentioned that our story last week about the wearable what was it? Beanbag. The wearable beanbag chair was very popular. So I've got another one that's already been doing real well on Facebook. And I do have a photo. So this one comes from a fashion show in Copenhagen. I think I said it was France. Copenhagen is in Denmark?
Denmark, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There we go. Let's see if we got the photo set up over here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is a dress. This is a model wearing a dress. And I'll explain it to everybody who's not watching on Facebook. So this comes from a fashion show in Copenhagen. So this model sat down at a table, or she may have already been seated at the table, but she was secretly wearing a dress that was also the tablecloth. So during the entire dinner, the people at her table, looked like there's about 8 people at the table, were eating on this tablecloth, unknowingly that, not aware that it was part of her dress. So what happened, of course, now I don't have the video here, but of course, all of a sudden she rings the glass, she rings her glass to get everyone's attention. She stands up, turns around, and walks down the aisle out the place. And as she walked, she takes the entire tablecloth with her, and everything that's on the table, all the half-eaten food, all the half-drunk drinks, the bread, everything is trailing on the tablecloth behind her. I looked at that. I didn't think there was anything unusual about that, because I have a bunch of ties that have at least that much. Well,
it's something you don't see every day, that's for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Isn't that amazing? And the
Yeah,
stuff
really.
stuck to it. Then, being a typical model, she went right to her dressing room and she proceeded to eat everything that was stuck on her dress, because
Oh,
she was eating olives. That's all the poor thing could eat while she was at the table. Would you wear something like this, Karen?
absolutely not.
I was thinking about that. We don't use tablecloth that much anymore. Not everybody has a dining room, or eats at the higher quality restaurants that have tablecloth. Most of the places we eat nowadays, the cloth used on the table is the one that wipes all the crumbs onto the floor. If this were a story in the United States, the model would be wearing a takeout bag, maybe a giant takeout bag. But I think this is a good idea for a mom who wants her kids to clean the dishes off the table. She sits down, the dishes are on the table, the dishes are on her dress. She says, I can't get up because the dishes are on my dress. You guys have to pick them up, or else, they end up on the floor, and that's gonna be worse for you. I don't know. Would that work, Karen? You're the parent of our group.
Oh, I am. No, that wouldn't work.
Wouldn't work. Okay. I would say apparently, but we'll move on. So, okay. Speaking of kids, now this is just, I really love this story. So this one comes from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm going to take the picture down of this model here, capital Pennsylvania. So 9-year-old boy in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, just got his high school diploma. 9 years old. He's supposed to be in 3rd grade. Just graduated from high school with his diploma, which allows him to enter college in the fall. So he's going to be entering college in the fall. And, obviously he's smart, but the real motivation for getting his high school diploma came when he and his parents went to the school for a visit, and he tasted the food in the cafeteria. He said, "There's no way I'm coming here for school." So man, he studied his little butt off in 2nd grade and somehow managed to pass the test in all the classes to get a high school diploma at the age of 9. He also got a letter in football, which I thought was amazing because he didn't even play on the team, but he demanded a letter in return for showing the principal how to restart the computer again. So
okay.
Sounds like a story of our times.
There you go.
Yes.
Smart kid. So then I went looking for some information. They said he was one of the youngest people to ever graduate from high school, the youngest kid. The youngest kid to ever graduate from high school, at least in the United States, 6 years old. Name is Michael Kearney, and from Alabama. 6 years old, graduated. He went to the prom. His prom date had to be home in time for Barney. So I mean,
Wow.
Yeah. Didn't take an older girl. Now, one of the people in the running for the youngest is a guy by the name of Ronan Farrow. Does that name ring a bell, John? Ronan Farrow? You've heard of him, haven't you?
No, I can't say I can pinpoint who he is, Paul.
Oh, okay, he's the investigative reporter. He's the son of Woody Allen and Mia Farrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He is, if you look at him, I don't have a picture of him, but if you take a look at a picture of him, he looks a lot like Frank Sinatra. And there are rumors that Frank Sinatra is actually his father because he looks nothing like Woody Allen. He's probably grateful for that. But anyway, so the story is, Ronan Farrow, now a very well-known investigative reporter, graduated from high school at the age of 11. His motivation for graduating was because he didn't want Woody Allen to come to any of the parent-teacher meetings. The last thing he wanted. He was even an investigative reporter for the school newspaper, which I thought was interesting. He exposed a big sex scandal involving the rabbits in the biology lab. So, early on, he was, he had a nose for the scandal, so to speak. Okay, so this is another one relating to the entertainment business. An auction was held I believe in New York, for Han Solo's blaster. Now, if you don't remember what that looked like from the Star Wars movies, I believe there it is, the Han Solo's blaster. That's from the original Star Wars movie, 1977, Star Wars 4, The Empire Does Something. Episode 4, A New, what it was called. One of the 3 prop blasters that he used in the movie sold for, get ready for this, $1,057,500. One piece of Hollywood prop. Doesn't even work. They included a little modifier that you can shoot little Nerf bullets, but that's about it. And believe it or not, over $1 million. They could have got more, but there was some hair stuck in the trigger, and they thought that it was Han Solo, but it was Chewbacca's. So they're going to auction that off separately.
Okay.
Anyway, one point, would you pay that much? Now, John is our memorabilia buff here. I seriously doubt that John has anything in his collection that he paid $1 million for.
It's safe to say, clearly, I have nothing even close.
Unless your house is a movie prop,
No, not at all. But I'll tell you what, I mean, that number does not surprise me at all. But think of how long ago that movie was done. Probably 1980, roughly.
No, 1977. 1977.
Oh, okay. Well, the first one. So yeah. So I mean, look how many years ago that was.
Yeah.
It's what I learned many years ago was when you go to like a coin collector shop or a memorabilia shop, obviously the things that bring the most are things that are unique and that no one else has. Now, I don't know if anyone else, this is unique, obviously, and no one else has this, I would gather, unless the studio had it or whatever. But
That's right. There's 3 of them. This is the only
really?
one.
Okay.
There were 3 different use. Believe it or not, if you take a look at it, obviously, if you're listening to us, you can't see it. Look it up on the internet or watch us on YouTube and see if there's anything familiar about this gun. It's called the Blast Tech DL44 Heavy Blaster. So, Han had to go online or maybe in a Sears catalog and look it up by model number in order to order it. It was one of 3 used in the movie. It was modeled after a German-made Mauser C96, which is a pistol from World War I. So I'm
Wow.
guessing that
That's interesting.
the handle and the trigger mechanism. It also used parts from a World War II era MG81 machine gun, as well as the rifle scope comes from a gun from the 1900s, the Heinz Holt Weltzlar rifle scope. So they took pieces. I thought that was fascinating. They took pieces from early pistols in the World War I time frame and early World War II, and molded them together and came up with something that looks like it belongs in the future.
That's very fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, would you pay $1 million for that trivia? No.
No.
Can't afford it.
Okay. All right. So this is a timely and a sad story coming up next here. Ira Bourne, whose nickname is Bob for some reason, Bob Bourne. He was a candy company executive known as the father of Peeps. Everybody knows what Peeps are, especially with Easter coming up. As soon as Christmas was over, the stores were filled with marshmallow Peeps, yellow, pink, purple, chocolate, vanilla, you name it, all different flavors. Ira Bob Bourne is called the father of the Peep because he created the marshmallow Peep. And we're going to find out how he did that. He died just recently at the age of 98, which tells me, yeah, I don't think he ate a lot of Peeps. But my psychic friends who keep track of all these things, they have a direct line to St. Peter in heaven. And they said they talked to St. Peter, and St. Peter said that because of his reputation with the Peeps, he would not be on a cloud, but instead he would be on a floating pile of plastic grass while he was in heaven.
Oh,
Yeah, much more appropriate. Get a load of this, though. This guy had an interesting background. He graduated from Lehigh University with a degree in engineering physics. Then he joined the Navy. The Navy trained him to be a radar specialist, and he was on a destroyer in the Pacific in World War II. Later, the Navy sent him to the University of Arizona and to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, where he did graduate work in math and physics. So
Wow.
here's Ira Bob Bourne, all this education, all this knowledge, comes home and says, I'm gonna make Peeps. His parents must have been so proud. believe it or not, his parents were proud because the company he went to work for was Just Born, which was founded by his father, and it was a candy company. And they called it Just Born because he said he had the world's freshest chocolate. So clever name, I guess. Also a play on his last name.
That's
so-
clever.
Yeah. I'm just thinking. All that time he's at MIT, he's sitting at the desk and he's got little marshmallows and he's drawing pictures on it, thinking, there's something here. There's just something here. I don't know what it is. So he joins the family business and it's not doing that well. So they acquired another candy company called the Rada Candy Company that made jelly beans. And they also had a machine that made marshmallow candy. Like the problem was they actually, it wasn't a machine. It was a combination machine and a hand-driven process. It took 27 hours to make one batch of marshmallow candy. So he said, "This is impossible. These look good, but 27 hours, we can't do that." So he took the basic technology and the recipe, and he came up with his own machine, which made a peep in less than 6 minutes, a run of peep. So the current machines that the company still uses today are the same machines that he made, and they now make 5.5 million peeps a day. Obviously, they have more than one. Since 2014, peeps have been available year round, so you don't even have to wait for Easter anymore like we did when we were kids. Or you don't even have to wait for a holiday. They had peeps for Halloween, peeps for Christmas. Now there's peeps around the clock, around the calendar. You want peeps, you can find peeps. So, So John, tell me, do you know what a marshmallow really is, or what is in a marshmallow?
Boy, you know what? I am not a food scientist, that's for sure. But
You're
I
right
would-
on the food part.
I got the food part down. I've had it down for years. But I think it's obviously it's sugar, right?
Right.
Very sweet. But whatever the ingredients are that go into making peeps, I don't know. You'll have to tell us.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's actually a plant called the marshmallow. And this plant this is where the actual marshmallow gooey candy came from. It's an herb native to Europe, North Africa, and Asia. And it grows in marshes. Okay, so it's called a mallow, grows in marshes, hence the name. The candy marshmallow goes as far back as the Egyptians, 2000 BCE. What they would do is they would take the root and they would boil it and give it to people who were sick. And it was said to cure coughs and sore throats. And they also rubbed it on wounds. So this was a very versatile, like the aloe vera of 2,000 years ago. And somebody actually tasted it and decided, hey, these don't taste too bad. So what they did was they would boil the root, then they would mix it with honey until it was thick like a paste. Then they strained it and cooled it, and they used it as like a little gummy candy. Today, John, you were right. It's sugar, some sort of water and gelatin. Those are the three main ingredients.
Okay.
More sugar on top.
And they're so good for us.
That's so good. That's exactly right, Karen. If they had marshmallow in them, they might be better. A root.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But they wouldn't taste so good.
That's right.
That's right. So marshmallows also, you get marshmallow cream. It's used as a filling. It's used in baking. Used in all kinds of stuff. They have machines that make them into all sorts of shapes. This is the second most famous, or that's the most famous marshmallow product in the world. Second most famous marshmallow product is the Stay Puft Marshmallow from the Ghostbusters movie. Remember that? The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
Yeah.
Stomping through New York City down whatever road he was going down, Fifth Avenue. It turns out there's no such thing as a Stay Puft Marshmallow. I always thought that was a New York brand. but Dan Aykroyd made that up.
Sure.
He wanted to,
How can you forget it? If you watch that movie, you can't forget that at all.
heck no. And they brought it through to the modern versions as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so John, here's a sports story for you. I know you know all about this. Somebody retired this week. Who might that be?
Oh,
Karen.
again?
Oh, Tom Brady.
That's right. Retired for the second time. Which does that mean? Can you really retire twice, or do you?
Yeah.
I think he's
I don't get that.
He's Tom Brady. He can do whatever he wants to do.
that is so true, Karen. I mean, yeah. Well, think of this. Okay, remember boxing years ago? How many times boxers would retire? Boxers would retire and then continually box and continually, get back into the
Really
limelight.
run out of money.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's never going to run out of money, as far as
Oh,
I
he's not going to do that.
not doing it for the money. So he announced this week he's retiring again, retiring for good. That's what he said. He's retiring for good. After last year, he announced that he was retiring for good. I have a friend who works at the Merriam-Webster Dictionary Company, and they said that if you look up good this week, it means, yeah, right.
An interesting definition.
Exactly. So Tom Brady, did you see the interviews? I mean, he's interviewing everywhere. And they asked him, were you afraid that you couldn't perform? And he said he just didn't want to stick around till the point where he had to have a center with handrails on it. He's already in business. I can't believe this. He's already got a number of businesses started. I went to my favorite Greek restaurant in town, and the special was roast leg of Brady. Instead of goats.
Okay.
They renamed goats for Brady. This is awful. Even goats think he's the goat. And John, you better watch out for this. John is a big bocce ball player, well known in the Cleveland area. Yet I heard he and Gronkowski are taking up bocce ball. I don't know if you heard this. They're already working at it. He got into a little bit of trouble. Tom Brady kept tripping some of the other players. And Gronk, he wiped out 2 fans when he spiked the bocce ball after getting a point. So, be prepared.
It's very easy to visualize, that's for sure. Well, it'll revolutionize the bocce game if he enters.
Yeah. You don't see them playing golf. They're too energetic, let's put it that way, for golf. But I think bocce ball, I think that would be a good sport for them. Or maybe this.
Keep an eye open on that. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye open on that one, Paul, for sure.
So this story comes from Germany. A German dog trainer by the name of Wolfgang, well, great name for a dog trainer, Wolfgang Lauenberger, set a Guinness World Record. I want to get the photo of this Guinness World Record here. Guinness World Record for the most dogs in a conga line.
Oh my! Look at them. How cute!
He has 14 dogs. Let's see, most dogs in a conga line. 14 dogs performed a canine version of the popular conga dance. Now, if you're not familiar with the conga, when humans do it, they dance around the dance floor in a line, and the person behind you has their hands on your waist, around your waist, or on your shoulders. That's the other way to do it. So these dogs are standing on 2 legs, obviously, and the dog behind each one has their paws on the back of the dog in front. And they're sized accordingly. So the biggest one is in the front, and the smallest dog is in the back. Very cute photo in front of some sort of giraffe.
That is very unique, Paul. Very unique.
Yeah. I thought, if you look it up and you listen to the music was perfect for dogs. It was provided. Hound of a Shame. With I forget what her name is, the singer from that group, singing, doing dance to the conga beat in dog language. So she was howling a bit too. I want to train, I don't have a dog anymore, but if I had a dog, I'd like to train him to do the conga. If for no other reason, to freak out the other dogs at the dog park. Or, when they're walking around or lifting their leg on a tree, all of a sudden, my dog's behind them, trying to dance along. I think that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Have you ever danced the conga? Karen, I'll ask Karen this one. Have you ever danced the conga?
I'm not old enough.
Oh, come on. Come on. You've been to weddings. Don't they dance the conga at weddings that you go to?
No, you do the bunny hop at weddings.
All right. John, you ever danced the conga?
Yes, I'm going to say just a few times and at several wedding receptions. That's what I'll say.
The typical wedding, that's right. A typical wedding dance requires no skill whatsoever. So John and I are perfect for that sort of
Yes,
dance.
we're good candidates for that.
Now, who is the most famous conga player in history? This is
Xavier Cugat?
oh, close. Desi Arnaz.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
He was the conga player in his band, which was featured on the original I Love Lucy show, and which was based on his real band. The conga is the drum that he played, that big tall drum. It's also called a cumbadora, and it only has a top. It doesn't have a bottom. Like drums have a top and a bottom. Only had a top. Desi Arnaz made him popular in the United States. But the drum that he was playing, even though he called it a conga, was actually another drum called the baku, which came from his hometown, Santiago de Cuba, in Cuba. So he brought it with him and made it famous. The dance, the conga, actually comes from Carnival, which was the Lenten celebration, which is coming up for all of us. And the dance that the people dance to in the street while they're, gorging and having sex and doing all the stuff they do in order to get ready for Lent, which, I've never, John, in our Catholic education, I don't ever remember being told that before Lent began and I had to fast, I could run out and spend a day in total debauchery.
I'm going to have to say, Paul, that I had the same experience. No, Mardi Gras was something that you saw on television or you heard about or you read about. Nothing that I ever participated in, that's for sure. In fact, I'd like to get to New Orleans. My wife and I have never been to New Orleans, and that's on our bucket list to get there one time.
One of my favorite cities in the world, New Orleans, for the food, for the culture, for the atmosphere. I had never been there for Mardi Gras, but I had been there the day after Mardi Gras, and it's like a battle scene. There was trash everywhere, piled up higher than the first floor of building. People passed out all over. It was awful. Looked like they had a good time though. All good Catholics. They all had ashes on their head. There's a Catholic reference for you. So anyways, all right, let's move on from that. The conga dancing dog. Okay. So this is an ogre story. This one comes from Massachusetts. I don't think we've ever done an ogre story. So this is a first. Anybody who's listening today, you are part of history. First time What in the World has covered an ogre story. This comes from Hatfield, Michigan. The police Hatfield, Massachusetts. The police in Hatfield are asking everyone to be on the lookout for an ogre. I have a photo of the ogre just in case you want to help them out. Here is the photo right there. So,
I know him.
You know him. Who is that, Karen?
Isn't he the Hulk?
Oh, look,
no.
I'm going to give you a hint. Read the.
Shrek.
Yeah, Shrek, right.
Okay. Yeah.
The photo says search for missing Shrek sculpture in Western Massachusetts. Apparently, a man had an amazingly lifelike version of Shrek made out of cement in his backyard. And when he wasn't looking, someone stole it. Some dastardly deed stole his Shrek statue. The police described this as being a life-size statue of Shrek, weighing 200 pounds.
Wow.
Well, Karen, have you seen the movie? You've seen
Uh,
it.
No, I don't see movies like that. There's
No,
not
John,
there's
you were
not
never-
enough kissing in it.
If, if Shrek weighed 200 pounds and that was life size, Shrek must have only been like 3 feet tall. Because Shrek was huge. Here's a photo of Shrek with from the movie.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Donkey, yeah, he's massive. That was not a life size statue by any stretch.
Obviously not.
No. So Mike Myers, who was the voice of Shrek, weighed more than 200 pounds. So if they wanted to pattern it after him. So this 200 pounds, you shouldn't call an ogre is not 200 pounds. If something weighs 200 pounds, it's an oogle maybe, but not an ogre. There's no monster that's only 200 pounds. An oaf maybe, it might have been an oaf, but not an ogre. Let's go back to what he looked like there. Does that look like a monster? It doesn't even looks like an alien. Looks like
Yeah.
He doesn't look very fierce or very intimidating.
No, not at all. Not at all. 200 pounds, one guy could probably, well, I don't know if one guy could carry it off. Maybe Hulk Hogan or Arnold Schwarzenegger. But anyway, I didn't realize that because I looked up Shrek. This is a franchise. They did 4 Shrek movies. The original had 3 sequels. Then 2 spin-offs with Puss in Boots. There's video games. There was a musical, Shrek the Musical. This, Steven Spielberg didn't need the money when he came up with this idea to do an animated computer-generated feature. He probably made more money on this franchise than any other franchise that he worked on.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and real ogres, like the Giant and Jack and the Beanstalk, they got to be upset with this. I want to get in on some of this action. Where's Spielberg doing a Jack and the Beanstalk or a musical? Jack and the Beanstalk the musical, Jack and the Beanstalk. I don't. Anyways, okay, world record time. How's my horn working? Did anybody hear that?
What'd you
No.
say?
What?
Do that again.
Oh,
Well, I heard
Can barely hear it, Paul. Barely hear it.
for those of you who can see the video, I am honking a horn here that apparently I have a horn filter on my microphone. So this story comes from Brazil. Brazilian food company set a Guinness World Record for assembling the world's longest line of submarine sandwiches. And this is impressive, John. Here we go. This is 1,180
oh my God.
sandwiches assembled 5 hours. So it's running through an auditorium. So it's not in a straight line, but it's 1,180 sandwiches. Each sub had to be measured. Now this is in Brazil. So I mean they were done with the subs in an hour, but it took them over 4 hours to find a regular ruler, not a metric ruler, so they could have a foot instead of I don't know, 87 centimeters or whatever a foot is. According to the story, the Subway, these were Subway sandwiches. The Subway, and this is for you, John, was invented by an Italian shopkeeper, Benedetto Capaldo.
Well, Italians know food.
That's right. He was a sandwich maker in Connecticut of all places, and the original name for the submarine or the Subway sandwich is a grinder. Now I've been to cities where they refer to long sandwiches as grinders. What else do they call it? What do you have a different name for him, John or Karen?
Hoagies.
Hoagies. No,
That's a good one, Karen. Good one. Yeah.
the sub, the hero.
Yeah.
All of those have a history behind them. The original name, submarine sandwich, comes from where was that from? I lost my page here. I think it came from Connecticut. It came from this guy. Benedetto was his name. So he worked across the street from a naval shipyard. And you know where this is going? It was one of the first shipyards in the United States to build submarines for the war effort.
Ah,
Supplied the Navy with with sandwiches, and which he called grinders. And one day he got an order for 500 of them, and he said, I need to name this sandwich after you. So he called it the submarine sandwich. So that's where the name submarine sandwich actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So he went from grinder to sub. Now the hoagie. Hey, Karen, did you say hoagie?
yes, I did.
Hoagie comes from Philadelphia, and
Yep.
The hoagie was invented in 1953, and is also connected to a naval yard of all things, of all coincidences. The Philadelphia Navy Yard was located across the street from another sandwich place, and the naval yard was in a body of water, probably a river, on an island that was called Hog Island, and that meant the people who worked there were called hoggies. And what they used to say is, we're taking sandwiches to the hoggies, and that became known, changed because people didn't want to say hoggies, so they called them hoagies. So that's where that sandwich came from, another submarine connection. The hero comes from New York, and you would think that it's a version of the gyro, the Greek sandwich, which we were talking about before. Not true. It turns out that a food critic from one of the New York tabloids ate at a sandwich place. I forget the name of it. Her name was Clementine Paddleworth, a very famous food critic. And in 1936, she ate this sandwich, and she said it was so good, it was so large, you had to be a hero to eat it.
Oh,
Because she was so popular, the name of the sandwich stuck, and it was called the hero sandwich. How about that?
wow. A lot of facts in there.
Yeah, quite a bit. Okay, so neither John or I are fisher people. Karen, do you ever go fishing?
Never.
Never. Okay.
Nope.
So this is for our listeners who partake of the fishing sport. Scientists at Auburn University in Alabama. I'm going to take down this hoagie photo here. So this comes from Alabama. Scientists down there have genetic scientists, so that's always a bad sign. They took an alligator gene and they put it inside a catfish. And the reason why, they said, was so that catfish get this disease that alligators don't get. So the goal was to protect the catfish like alligators are protected. And sure enough, it works. But now you've got this hybrid alligator catfish, which is, I mean, if you see this on the plate or whatever you do, don't put your hand on it because it'll grab your fingers like nothing. If these things were in the Cuyahoga River, you'd have to wear steel-toed waders because I don't want a catfish with an alligator mouth floating around me. However, I thought about that. What they should try is to take the alligator gene and put it in a pigeon. Now, I think that would be cool. I'd like to watch something like that flying around the neighborhood, picking up squirrels and chipmunks and no, maybe
No,
not.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
It's a very unique story, Paul.
Yeah.
One more animal story, and then we'll move on to the sport. So, woman in Wales, she has a closed circuit TV video to back up her claim. She claims that a ghost of her Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Jack, who passed away in October, chased her cat. She has it on video. Chased her cat into a pet cemetery behind their house, or a regular cemetery behind their house. The cat stole a teddy bear off of a grave and brought it back to her as a message that the dog was doing okay on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. Now, I don't know, she was trying to make it imply that the dog was thinking about it. If this dog ghost is powerful enough to do anything, sounds like a great plot for a Stephen King book, because cats don't listen to anybody. But I was thinking, I shared a story with Karen and John before the show that I've had things happening in my office that I've attributed to ghosts. I have had dogs. I don't know if one of my dogs' ghost is trying to haunt me. But you know, people feel good when they think, oh, the spirit of my pet came back. Really, what if, you know, cats and dogs are okay. What if your pet was a piranha and you flushed them? I know that's not a ghost I want coming back, because I don't want to be sitting there and hearing something gurgling and thinking, oh, wow, what could that be? And there you go, another Stephen King novel right there.
But if they came back, they would be so loving because you took good care of them before they died.
A loving piranha?
Sure, why not?
Hey, people change. Maybe pets can change.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's a story there. I think I like that idea. After my piranha died, he became such a nice fish.
Yes.
Played well with the goldfish. Okay, all right. Well, I think we've reached the end of our fun stories for this edition of What in the World, which means it's time for What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo. John and I go back to our college days. We actually played sports together. John probably knows more about sports than anybody, certainly, that I know. So he's the perfect host for What in the World of Sports. Every week I ask John to come up with a strange sport that fits with the theme of What in the World. And every week he manages to top the sport from the previous week. And I'll leave it to you to judge whether this is the weirdest sport he's ever covered. I know he likes this one, so I will let you take it away, John, while I set up your photos for you.
Oh, thank you, Paul, for the big introduction. I'll hopefully be able to explain the sport clearly so our audience and our listeners will understand it. So our sport this week has an Italian origin.
Oh,
and the name of the sport is Palla. Palla.
okay.
For those of you not initiated in the Italian language, the word palla means ball. And in Italy, palla is a traditional game played in the region of Tuscany, and it's played in the Italian villages between Siena and Grosseto.
Now, Tuscany is in the middle of it, to Italy.
Yeah, more the central part of the peninsula, correct.
Okay.
It is also called Palla A, EH with an exclamation point, by some people because the players call out A before serving the ball. I mean, it's very typical of Italians. Italian people are very emotional, very vocal, in a lot of cases extroverted. So it's a natural for them to say that.
It's not Italian Canadians playing Palla yelling.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. Canadians always use the phrase A. So we'll have to find out about that.
Well, this sounds like an interesting sport. So how do we play it?
Okay. The balls that are used are small handmade balls that contain a lead pellet wrapped in rubber and wool with a leather cover.
Okay.
Now, the game is played by teams that face each other who strike but not catch the ball with either a bare or a gloved hand. So you can wear a glove or you can receive the ball with a bare hand.
Okay.
Courts are marked with painted lines on town streets, but there is no net and players can move between sides.
Wow.
Adjacent buildings, as you can see in this photo, objects and sometimes spectators, and they're in there, if you're watching us on YouTube, are considered in play. And play does stop for those of you concerned. For those of you concerned about this, play does stop for oncoming automobiles in the interest of keeping the participants upright. Scoring is like
it was on a cobblestone street. This one is on cement here.
Yeah, right.
There's people all around. So you're saying if the ball bounces off of a spectator, it's still in play?
It's in play, or a building for that matter. It's in play.
Or a door or a window.
Or a window, yes. Now, scoring is identical to the scoring that is done in tennis, 15, 30, and 40.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
There is also a variant of the game called Palla 21 or Palla 21, in which each game counts as 7, and a set is won with 3 games, 7 for the first, 14 for the second, and 21 for the third. And this is how the name of the game is derived. Palla corda or Palla della corda is an extinct form of the game where a cord is strung across the street as the participants play.
That
There
sounds
is-
dangerous. Although it looks dangerous right here. There's people falling all over the place there.
Yeah, for those of you that are able to see it on YouTube, yes. Now, there is a theory that says Palla may have been a precursor to the game of, get ready for this, tennis.
Wow.
Okay.
Let me explain why. Real tennis was originally played without rackets.
Huh.
The French are credited with naming the sport Jeu de Paume, or Game of the Palm. Now, now the development of the net is not documented quite as well. In real tennis, the net is also referred to as the line. Palla A uses only a line painted on the ground to mark the territory. The cord was added for Palla corda just to keep the players in their respective sides of the court. So there is some kind of semblance of order in the competition.
Now that's a game I could handle. You know, I always had a tough time getting the ball over the net. This is perfect. Tennis
You know
without
what,
the net,
and
without
even-
any rackets.
And I would have to say, even for me, I'd be able to handle this. There's not many that I can handle, but I think
I don't know, a ball with a lead pellet on the inside is a little scary.
Well, you might have to go to the glove then instead of taking it barehanded.
I didn't see the photo yet of the people using gloves. It looks like these tough Italians here are playing barehanded. And the courts are long. Look at how long this one is.
It's a long distance, yes, as you can see in this picture. Correct.
Throwing and catching.
Right. And so in Palla corda, the ball that goes under the cord yet across the line is still a fair shot.
Still in play. Wow.
It's still in play, but you have to go over the line, to be able to get a score. It is thought that the tennis court actually developed from the layout of monastery cloisters in the 16th century. And this was due, the popularity of the sport tennis in the beginning was due to the early popularity of the game among clerics, because clerics didn't have a lot of recreation time,
Wow.
different forms of recreation. So the people that were in the monasteries were the ones who actually started playing.
I can
Yeah,
just
we know
imagine monks and nuns in those long clerical robes playing tennis. That's
I know that doesn't seem to be something that connects, but that's again a very popular theory.
wow.
And the other thing which brings dispute to that is cloisters are usually square.
Oh,
Now, more study of Palla has led many to believe that the first tennis courts were made by those who wanted to play the street game, but excuse me, could afford a more private and much cleaner setting. And that's supposedly how the idea of tennis being in the cloistered area came to be.
the rich people. Yeah, the rich people.
Oh
didn't want
yeah, the patricians, as it were, not the plebeians, the patricians. Now,
Yeah. Oh,
it-
wait, very good. Yeah.
yeah, now,
Word of the day from John DiNallo.
of course, it's pretty obvious to Italians that tennis, pickleball, and other racket sports originated from Palla. So, the next time you play those sports, show Palla some love and give it a hand.
Oh,
Hey, it's coming up with a closure now.
Hey.
That's all. Okay, it's just a closure. All right.
Here you go.
And Paul, thanks for the photo.
Point of Paula. By the way, I didn't realize this. They do have some organization to this. This is a poster from 2019 for
Uh-huh.
some organized Paula competition in Italy. And I believe, John, that there's another one in here. This looks like a major Italian event.
Sure. There's
all
five,
over the place.
right, there's five main villages in the area of Tuscany where they play those, where they play the games. And those three of those cities are listed. If you're on YouTube, you can see three of those villages listed on that poster.
Wow, that's amazing. It looks like a fun sport. It actually does.
Oh,
look like
yeah, it is. I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
You think it would be. So, John, I don't know if you realize this, but we once played this sport.
Yeah, wait, but we're having to go way back in time now on this. Let me think if I can recall.
Well, John, you were very influential in it because obviously you're Italian.
Uh-huh.
And John and I, as I've said before, John, we're fraternity brothers. We were in the same fraternity in college, which had a number of Italian members, if I'm not mistaken.
We have a lot of Italian guys. Absolutely. Yes, we did.
So the story, as I recall, was that another organization challenged us to a game of pala. So all of the Italian members said, "Oh, you guys, we can do this. Don't worry about it. We'll handle it." And the rest of us were a little concerned. And then we found out that the organization that challenged us was a sorority. It was a group of women from the school who challenged Italian women who had
I
challenged.
remember that now. Now that you put this to my
that's
attention,
right.
I seem to remember this. Yes.
John, you were one of the people saying, "Oh, we could beat the Italian women, no problem." And then we showed up, and here's one of the women who was on the team. Now, her hands are bigger than her head. So we were going to be able to defeat a women's team where their hands were so huge that they just bashed that ball back and forth with
that for us, Paul. I remember now. That was a real dose of reality because we really were at a disadvantage that way. But
we have a photo of a lady with extremely large hands. I believe they may be fake.
yeah, that doesn't look too natural to me. But I do recall that competition. As a matter of fact, I wanted to keep it. I wanted to not really think of it and kind of had selective amnesia on it because we ended up losing. So yeah, that's something I'm very, very proud of.
Another great sport, pala or pala-a, as the Italians say. Thank you, John, so much for another great sport for What in the World of Sport.
You're welcome, Paul and Karen in the audience. It was a lot of fun to do it.
The event now that everybody's waiting for, especially John and Karen, whose competition last week ended in somewhat of a tie. The Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Every week we end the show with a round of Bluff the co-host. Very simple game. I have 3 stories. They're different from the ones I've been telling this afternoon. Those were all real. Bluff the co-host, they may be real, they may be a bluff. It's up to John, Karen, those of you playing at home to decide. Wagering is allowed in Ohio these days, so place your bet. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer.
But before you start, I want you to know, I put a call out on Facebook that I needed somebody to train with me this week. And they all told me that John's wife, Annette, is the only good trainer in the whole United States.
She is good. So there are weeks.
Well, I would have to attest to that, Karen and Paul, because without her, I mean, I would really not get any answers right. So
I think the weeks that John loses, I think he may have fallen asleep during Karen's training session because
probably, yeah.
I think that use that as an excuse, John. You're welcome to it. Okay,
right, sounds good.
I'm sorry you couldn't find a trainer. You're just going to have to use your natural abilities.
I'm going to try.
All right. Well, there's a theme to each of these stories. Let's see if you can figure it out. We'll start with story number 1. Hands on the buzzer. The city of Bolivar, Missouri, wants to be known as the glass capital of the United States. So its city officials decided to erect a monument to the glass industry that would also become a tourist attraction. That monument is now the world's largest glass test tube, measuring over 11 feet tall and 3 feet in diameter. The test tube sits in the city's public square and is permanently filled with a green bubbling liquid. The bubbles provided by the local gas company's contribution, which is the world's largest Bunsen placed on the that the world's largest glass test tube and world's largest Bunsen burner will attract both visitors and other industries to Bolivar to take advantage of its glass and gas industry. Okay, so Bolivar, Missouri wants to attract tourists, so it erects the world's largest glass test tube and Bunsen burner. Real or bluff, Karen?
Well, a test tube. Bunsen burner. I got burned on one of those in class.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to say this is true because, we're getting weirder, by the day. So, yeah, true.
For yourself, but we'll go with true.
True.
Okay. So Karen says it's true. John, how about you?
Yes, I agree with Karen on this. I think it's true, but I have a different theory. Think of all the people that had attended chemistry class in high school and were exposed to the Bunsen burner and test tubes. And test tubes are really, part of life. I mean, not only in the medical field, but in the, chemical field of, where they test chemicals and so forth. I would think this will put this city on the map. So I'm going to say it's true.
John says it's true.
Wow.
Motto for the show: test tubes are a part of life. I like
Yes.
that. That's
Yeah.
words to live by from John DiNallo. Okay, so both Karen and John say that the world's largest test tube in Bolivar, Missouri, is a true story. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say both of you need to go back to your drawing board. That's a bluff.
Oh, boy.
No,
Look, Karen, we have to go back to the drawing board. So to
Yeah, yes, yeah.
the chemistry
You know
class.
what? Maybe the officials in Bolivar should think of this, though. And like I said again, maybe it would increase tourism if they created something like this.
Maybe there's no such thing.
And no offense to the people in Bolivar, no offense to the people who are residing in Bolivar or near there, but why would you go to Bolivar, Missouri? Again, don't take it in the wrong spirit.
We need to move on because
I'm just making a comment there. All right, making a comment.
Yep.
Okay, so the score on the big scoreboard is 0-0. Let's get right to story number 2. The theme this week is states and things that states do in cities. Okay, so story number 2. You may think you love your state, but the residents of New Mexico love their state so much they even love its smell. In fact, they love its smell so much they want to be the first state to have an official state aroma. In New Mexico, that aroma is roasted chili. Most of the chili peppers sold in the United States are grown in New Mexico, and most of the chili powders and sauces and salsas are made there as well from roasted peppers. So you can't avoid the smell. A bill is now in front of the state legislature to make roasted chili the official state smell and is expected to pass in time for Chili Pepper Festival season. Isn't it time that Ohio made its state smell the smoked kielbasa? Okay. So the state of New Mexico is voting to declare that their state aroma, first state to have a state aroma, their aroma is roasted chili. What do you say, John? Real or bluff?
This is a tough one because it's well documented that, as you said, so many of the chili products that are produced worldwide are produced in New Mexico. So that is, a very important, part of their agriculture. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say it's true, but I really don't understand the practicality of it. Like, why do you want to have a state smell? I mean, really? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm going to say it's true.
Okay, John says it's true. Maybe it's because they don't have a professional sports team in New Mexico. Do they?
They do not. No, there is no
Nope.
professional. There's college athletics there, of course, but no professional teams. No.
So they need something, so they have a state aroma. Okay, so John says it's true. Karen, how about you?
I think you did a really good job writing this story up, and I'm going to say It's a bluff.
Karen says it's a bluff. Okay, so Karen says the state aroma of roasted chili in New Mexico is a bluff. John, on the other hand, says it's real. The poor people of New Mexico need something to live for. Okay, let's check with the judges. And the judges say, congratulations, John. That's a real story.
Oh,
Well, Karen, I think it goes into the category if it's so weird, it's got to be true.
no.
And
I guess.
Wow.
You have to
wow.
just-
I don't want to go to New Mexico and smell that.
really,
No.
I just think we should just throw logic out of all of these.
Probably.
all these bluff and co-hosts. I think just throw logic out, and then see if we win. I'm glad I won, though. Not at your expense, Karen, but I'm glad I won.
Okay, all right, okay. So John is ahead 1-0. Wow, this is unusual here.
Yeah.
So John, you got to hang on to your lead because points
Let's
are
try.
free. That means Karen could come blazing ahead. So get ready. Here we go with story number 3. Denver, Colorado is the world headquarters of the Samsonite Luggage Company. The company had been looking for a fun way to attract visitors for tours of its facility while also selling some luggage. So its marketing department came up with the idea for Make It Fit. Visitors to the headquarters can enter a mock-up of an airport baggage checking area where they are given a suitcase made by one of Samsonite's competitors. The bag will not fit in a box labeled, "Your luggage must fit in this box." You've seen those at the airport. So visitors are given a large hammer so that they can pound on the suitcase until it fits in the box. They then receive a 20% off coupon for a Samsonite bag that always fits in the box. It's all in good fun and sales to tourists are up. So the company is looking for more used bags from its competitors to hammer and make it fit. All right, Karen, what do you say? Samsonite's new tourist attraction, smashing suitcases, real or bluff?
Well, I think most of us would do it without the hammer to begin with. But I'm going to use John's, logic and say it's so weird. It has to be true. So either I'm going to go out in blazing glory, one way or the other.
Blazing like a Bunsen burner. Karen
Yep.
said it's a real story. All right, John, how about you?
Well, I'm going on the same line of thinking that Karen has. It's not logical, but I'm going to say it's true because it's that weird. It's just that weird.
Okay, so both of our contestants here go by the motto, "It's so weird, it must be true." Let's see if they're right. The judges say, find a new motto. That's a bluff.
Oh, geez. I could have won.
Well, Karen, there's always next week, though. There's always
It's-
next week.
It's true. That's true.
John doesn't sound too upset because he did win this week. So
I eked out a victory, so to speak. I eked it out.
well, that brings us to the end of another great fun time at What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul and co-host, for everything you do at newclevelandradio.net, everything you do for us at What in the World. Thanks again. Please visit newclevelandradio.net if you haven't before. Find out how to find our show, find us on YouTube, and then also listen in to some of the other great podcasts that Karen has. As always, my good friend John DiNallo from college, despite the fact that he doesn't remember all those things that we did, he's still a great guy and a great friend and a great co-host with and host of What in the World of Sport. So John, thanks for being here this week.
Oh, you're entirely welcome, Paul and Karen. And again, it's always a great week. I always look forward to Tuesday. So remember to continue to watch us on YouTube, or at least listen to us on iHeartRadio and Spotify, and enjoy.
Shout out to all the Italian Americans who listen to our show. So
Absolutely.
you're
To
from
everybody. And
Viva, viva.
next week, we're doing our show on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's
It is,
Day.
yeah, it's not a national holiday, everybody.
Something
but-
special.
If you want to make your wife or girlfriend happy, you either have to take her out to dinner, get her flowers, no candy. Candy is not good.
Okay, no marshmallow peeps, no.
No marshmallow peeps.
They'll have to wait for, the springtime.
Well, I think
Yeah,
the best gift is for them to listen to What in the World, because, well, we'll have some special Valentine, trivia and stories as well, so.
that would be pretty good.
Can't
In the
wait.
meantime,
All right, so I guess
Have-
we'll. Next
Have a
week.
good time, everybody.